All right, so get this. Today we're looking at something pretty wild. The idea that the universe, actually responds to our thoughts and feelings.
It's an idea that's been around forever, like literally centuries. It pops up in these old philosophies and even has these weird connections to like modern science.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're taking a deep dive today. We've got all these different sources, everything from personal development books to straight up spiritual texts, even some quantum physics stuff.
Don't worry, we'll make the quantum physics stuff easy to understand.
Yeah, no worries there. Now I know what you're thinking. Hold on, isn't this a bit out there?
Totally, totally.
It's a normal reaction. I felt the same way until I actually read this stuff.
Skepticism is good, it's healthy. What's important is to come into this with an open mind and see if any of these ideas click for you.
Okay, I'm game. So where do we even begin with something as big as the universe responding to us? I'm guessing most people have at least heard of the law of attraction.
Oh yeah, definitely a good place to start.
Yeah, that seems like a good entry point.
The main idea behind the law of attraction is that like attracts like when it comes to energy.
Okay.
You can give it like a magnet. A magnet doesn't have to like try to attract metal. It just does, right?
Right.
Like it's built that way. So the law of attraction suggests that our thoughts and feelings, they kind of give off this energy that pulls in experiences that match that vibe.
Okay, I get the magnet thing, but I have to be honest. This whole idea that the universe revolves around my mood feels kind of self-centered, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do we square that with all the bad stuff happening in the world?
That's a really good point. And it shows like a common misunderstanding about the law of attraction.
Okay.
It's not about blaming yourself for every bad thing or thinking you can just like magic your way to a perfect life just by wanting it really bad. The law of attraction, it works within like a much bigger and more complicated system, one where, free will, collective consciousness, all that stuff, and like random stuff that happens, all of that plays a role.
So it's more like being aware of the energy we're putting out there and knowing it's part of this bigger energy, tapestry?
Yes.
Okay. But how does that energy actually change, the physical world around us?
That's where things get a little trippy. It's where we see some interesting connections to quantum physics.
Oh, here we go. Quantum physics.
Yeah.
Always good for a brain workout. But seriously, how does that stuff, all that abstract theoretical stuff, connect to everyday life?
Well, let's start with something called the observer effect.
Okay.
Quantum physics has shown that just watching a particle can actually make it act differently. Imagine you have a pot of water like simmering on the stove.
Yeah.
You might not be actively thinking about it, but the second you turn your attention to it, maybe you see steam rising, hear it bubbling, suddenly, your awareness changes how you deal with it, right?
Yeah.
You're more likely to adjust the heat or check if it's boiling over.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it connects. So, in a way, watching something is kind of like participating in it, right? It's
Yeah.
like influencing what happens. But does this work for things bigger than tiny particles? Can paying attention really change the world around us that much?
That's the big question. It's something scientists and philosophers are still, debating. Some theories suggest that, our consciousness could be tied into, the fabric of reality on a really deep level. If our thoughts are energy and energy affects matter, like quantum physics says, then it makes you wonder, could our intentions be shaping our reality in ways we don't even fully get yet?
Okay, that's both fascinating and a bit creepy. It feels like we're talking about a whole different level of reality here.
It is.
But hold on, we've got this modern concept of the law of attraction and these, wild ideas from quantum physics. But isn't this idea of the universe responding to us ancient?
Absolutely.
Weren't people thinking about this way before quantum physics was even a thing?
Yes. This idea goes way back, especially in Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Taoism. They emphasize how everything is connected in this concept of karma.
Right, karma. But not like cosmic punishment for being bad, right?
Right.
More like what you put out into the world comes back to you in some way.
Yeah. What you sow is what you reap.
Exactly. So it's about understanding that we're not separate from the universe. We're woven into this web of energy and influence.
Right. Our actions create ripples that go way beyond us, affecting everything around us and ultimately shaping the reality we experience.
So we've got this idea that's been around forever, shows up in, old philosophies to modern physics. But how does it actually work? Is there some kind of cosmic delivery service that sends us good vibes when we think happy thoughts?
Well, it would be nice if it were that simple.
Right.
There's no one answer that explains everything. But our sources, they dive into some possible ways it might work.
Okay, let's hear them. What are some of the key ideas that stand out to you?
One big thing is the power of intention. If you don't know what you want, how can the universe give it to you?
Right.
It's like trying to order food without knowing what's on the menu.
Yeah,
You
totally.
need to be clear about what you want.
So it's like the universe is saying, okay, what are we working with here? Give me something specific to respond to.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that brings us to the next interesting idea, frequency and vibration.
Okay, this is where things get a little out there for me. How do we understand emotions in terms of like frequency and vibration?
Think about music.
Okay.
Different notes have different frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
right? They create different sounds and harmonies. The idea here is that everything, even our thoughts and emotions, vibrate at a certain frequency.
Okay, so if we're always giving off these emotional frequencies, is that how we attract experiences that match that energy? Like, do high vibe emotions like joy and gratitude bring more positivity, and low vibe emotions like fear and anger bring more negativity?
That's the basic idea.
Okay.
Of course, it's simplifying a very complex process.
Right.
But it gives us a way to think about how our inner world might be shaping our outer reality.
So basically, vibes matter.
They do.
Okay, but here's the thing. I've been thinking positive thoughts and setting intentions for years, and I'm still waiting for that winning lottery ticket. What's up with that?
Well, this is where patience and timing come in. The universe might have its own schedule,
Yeah.
Just because we want something right this second doesn't mean it's the right time for it to show up.
Right. It's not like instant gratification like ordering something on Amazon.
Exactly. And sometimes what we think we want isn't actually what's best for us in the long run. The universe might be nudging us toward a better path, even if it takes a little longer than we want.
Interesting. So that job I didn't get, maybe that was the universe pushing me towards something even better. Okay, I can get behind that. But what about when things go really bad? Like really wrong? Does that mean the universe is like punishing us for not being positive enough?
Not necessarily. This is where the idea of unexpected responses comes into play.
Okay.
The universe doesn't always do what we think it should or in the way we expect. What looks like a setback might actually be a hidden lesson, a chance for growth and change that we wouldn't have picked for ourselves.
So challenges are basically opportunities for growth in disguise. I like that. But what about those weird coincidences that feel like the universe is sending a direct message?
You were talking about synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences that happen with perfect timing. It's like the universe is winking at you saying, hey, pay attention. This is important.
I love those moments. It feels like a little cosmic nudge, like you're on the right track.
Yeah.
So if we want to work with the universe, not against it, what are some things we can actually do?
Well, first and foremost, be crystal clear about what you want.
Yeah, we talked about intention, but how do we get that clarity? Any tips?
Journaling and visualization are really helpful. Get those desires out of your head and onto paper or into a vision board or something.
Okay.
It's like making a map for the universe to follow.
Got it. I'm grabbing my journal and like a stack of magazines for a vision board right now. But it's not just about thinking happy thoughts, right? We have to actually do something with those intentions.
Absolutely. Action is key. Think of it this way. Planting a seed, your intention, that's just the first step.
Right.
You need to water it, take action for it to sprout and grow.
So the universe might give us the opportunity, but we got to make the most of it.
Exactly.
Got it. But what about gratitude? Everyone talks about the power of gratitude, but how does that fit into all this working with the universe stuff?
Gratitude is like a high-frequency amplifier.
Okay.
When we appreciate what we have, it raises our vibrational energy. And according to the law of attraction, pulls in even more good stuff.
Okay, I'm all about gratitude. So even something simple like taking a few minutes each day to like appreciate the good stuff, no matter how small, can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's a practice that can completely change your perspective.
Yeah.
It can open you up to so much abundance.
This is starting to make sense, but it's a lot to take in. Are there other ways to think about this whole universe responding to us thing?
Absolutely. We can look at this through all kinds of lenses, like psychological, philosophical, even spiritual.
Okay.
Each perspective gives us a unique insight into how our inner world and the outer universe might be connected.
Okay, let's dive into those different perspectives. I'm ready to see where this deep dive takes us next.
Let's do it.
All right, so we've said that this whole universe responding thing, it's not just some new fad.
Right.
Like it's been around forever.
Yeah.
And it even kind of lines up with like real science. But a part of me still wants to see some proof, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay.
Is there anything beyond just stories to back this up, or is it all just like positive thinking and good vibes?
It's a good question. And it's true that a lot of this goes into areas that are hard to like measure with the usual scientific methods.
Right.
As we were talking about consciousness, energy, how everything's connected. That's not easy to put into a lab experiment.
So we can't exactly test the law of attraction in a lab?
Not exactly.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean there's nothing supporting these ideas. Like we talked about earlier, some of this stuff has these weird parallels in science, especially in quantum physics.
Okay, let's go back to quantum physics for a minute. You mentioned the observer effect, the idea that just by watching a particle we can change how it acts.
Yeah.
That's wild on its own. But how does that connect to, like, our regular lives? The big picture, you know?
That's the big question.
Right.
And it's one that's got a lot of people talking and guessing. Some physicists and philosophers, they think these quantum principles, the stuff we see on a tiny level, it might actually scale up.
Mm. Hmm.
Like, what if our thoughts and intentions are affecting the world around us in ways we don't even realize yet?
Okay, I'm with you so far. But I remember this thing from college, chaos theory.
Oh, yeah,
Something about butterflies and tornadoes. Does that connect to any of this?
absolutely. Chaos theory and the butterfly effect, they fit in here perfectly. The idea is that small changes at the beginning can cause huge, unpredictable results later on. It's like even little actions can ripple out and create all these effects we never saw coming.
So it's not just about the big choices we make, it's also the little everyday things we do without even thinking.
Exactly. Think about it. A kind word to a stranger, that could brighten their day. A small act of generosity that could inspire someone to pay it forward, and it keeps going.
Wow, that's powerful. It's like we're all connected by these invisible threads of cause and effect. We're always influencing each other and being influenced by the world.
Exactly. And that's where the idea of the universe responding to us comes in. If everything is connected, then it makes sense that our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, they all create these little shifts in the energy around us. And those shifts, they can show up as random events, opportunities, or even challenges.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. But when we talk about working with the universe, are we saying we should try to manipulate these chaotic systems to get what we want? Doesn't that feel a little, I don't know, arrogant?
That's a good point. It's not about controlling or manipulating the universe. It's more about aligning ourselves with how things naturally work. Like imagine a surfer riding a wave.
Okay.
They're not trying to control the ocean, right?
Yeah.
They're working with it. So it's about understanding these principles, the connection, the energy, the ripple effects, and working with them, not forcing things to happen.
So it's less about ego and more about, like, teamwork.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about realizing we're co-creators with the universe, not just passengers along for the ride.
I like that. That makes me feel more in control, you know? But what about those times when it feels like the universe is working against us? You know, when we hit those roadblocks or face challenges that seem totally unfair?
This is where the idea of unexpected responses comes in. The universe doesn't always give us what we want, or at least not in the way we expect. Sometimes what feels like a bad thing is actually a redirection, like a course correction, or a chance to grow that we never would have chosen for ourselves.
It's like those GPS systems that recalculate the route when you miss a turn.
Right. Sometimes the detour takes you on a prettier road or helps you avoid traffic.
Right, right.
The universe might be guiding us towards a different path, one that ultimately leads to something even better than we imagined.
Okay, I can see that. But it's still tough when you're in the middle of a tough situation.
I know.
It's hard to see the good side when you're feeling down or overwhelmed. Any advice on how to stay positive and trusting, even when things are rough?
Absolutely. One thing that can really help is gratitude. Take some time each day to appreciate the good stuff in your life, no matter how small. It can shift your energy and help you draw in more positivity. Remember, where your attention goes, your energy flows.
So if we focus on what we're thankful for, we're more likely to attract more things to be thankful for.
Right.
I like that. But what about when you feel like there's nothing to be grateful for? Like when you're going through a really hard time, a loss or a setback that just feels like too much.
Even then, there's always something to be grateful for. It might be the air we breathe, the roof over our heads, the people who love us. It's about finding those little sparks of light, even in the darkest times.
Okay, I see what you mean. Shifting your focus to what you do have, even when it feels like everything's falling apart. That can bring some grounding and hope. But what about visualization? Everyone talks about the power of visualization, but how does that actually work? Is it just wishful thinking or is there more to it?
It's definitely more than just daydreaming. Good visualization, it involves using all your senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, even smell. You create this vivid experience in your mind, like you're already living the reality you want.
So you mean like feeling the emotions, hearing the sounds, even smelling the scents of your dream life as if it's already real?
Exactly. The more details you add, the more powerful it gets. It's like creating a blueprint for the universe to work with.
Okay, I'm getting out my vision board and essential oils.
Good.
But here's a question. What if what we're visualizing isn't actually the best thing for us? Like, what if the universe has something even better planned?
Mm.
Are we limiting ourselves by being too specific about what we want?
That's a really important point. It shows how important it is to be open to the universe's wisdom. We need to be clear about what we want, but also open to the possibility that the universe might have a different plan, one we can't even imagine yet.
So it's like, hold on to your desires, but don't grip them too tightly.
Right.
Trust that the universe might have something even more amazing planned.
Exactly. It's about surrendering to how life unfolds and being open to those unexpected twists and turns. They might lead us to our true destiny.
I like that. It takes the pressure off, feeling like we have to control everything. But what about those times when it feels like we're stuck, like we're not getting anywhere with our goals?
Mhm.
Does that mean the universe isn't listening? Or are we doing something wrong?
Not necessarily. Sometimes those periods of feeling stuck, they're actually periods of deep inner change,
Right.
like the changes we need to level up. It's like a seed underground before it breaks through the soil and grows.
So it's about being patient, trusting that something amazing is happening, even if we can't see it yet.
Yes,
That takes a lot of faith.
it does. And it's important to remember, the universe works in mysterious ways.
Hmm.
What feels like a delay or a setback might actually be perfect timing. Like everything's lining up to take us exactly where we need to be.
Okay, I'm feeling more hopeful and a lot less stressed about forcing things to happen, but I still have this nagging thought. What if this universe responding thing is just a placebo?
Okay,
What if we're just tricking ourselves into believing our thoughts have power?
that's an interesting question. And it's true, believing in something can be incredibly powerful. If we believe something's possible, we're more likely to do things to make it happen.
So even if it is just a placebo, just believing in the power of our thoughts and intentions, that could still make our lives better.
Absolutely. And who's to say the placebo effect isn't real in its own way?
Hmm.
If it works, does it really matter how it works?
That's a great point. Maybe it's not about finding absolute proof.
Right.
It's about being open to the possibility and seeing what happens when we choose to believe. But hold on, what about free will?
Yeah.
If the universe is responding to our thoughts and actions, does that mean we don't really have control over our lives? Are
Right.
we just puppets?
The big question of fate versus free will.
Yeah.
It's complicated. There are all sorts of opinions on it. Some people believe our lives are already decided, like everything's set in stone.
Hmm.
Others believe we have complete free will, that we're writing our own story.
So which is it? Are we following a script or are we making it up as we go?
It's probably somewhere in between. A mix of fate and free will, predestined things, and choices we make along the way.
So it's like we're given a map, but we can choose which roads to take, which detours to explore. We can even decide not to follow the map at all.
That's a great way to put it. We might have a general direction, a purpose, a path, but we still have the power to choose how we travel.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. It's empowering knowing we have a say in things, but how do we actually start working with the universe in a real way? Like, what are the first steps?
That's a great question. And the good news is it doesn't have to be complicated. One of the simplest things you can do is start paying attention to the signs and synchronicities that are already happening in your life.
Okay, you're talking about those meaningful coincidences again, right?
Right.
The ones that feel like more than just random chance.
Exactly. It could be running into someone you were just thinking about, finding the perfect book at the exact moment you needed it, hearing a song on the radio that totally gets what you're going through.
I've definitely had those, okay, universe, I see what you did there
Yeah.
moments. But how do we know if it's a real sign or just our brains making connections that aren't actually there?
That's where intuition comes in. Pay attention to how you feel when you experience those synchronicities. Do you feel excited, curious, like you just know something? Does it feel like it's confirming something you've been thinking or feeling?
So it's about trusting that gut feeling, that little voice that says, pay attention, this is important. But what if I'm still not sure how to read the signs? What if I'm getting mixed messages?
That's where things like journaling and meditation can really help. Taking time to quiet your mind, connect with your inner wisdom, and think about your experiences. That can help you figure out the messages you're getting and be clearer about your path.
It's like making space for quiet and reflection so those insights can come through. I can see how that would help us tune in to that quiet inner voice. But what about when it feels like we're not getting any signs at all? Does that mean the universe isn't listening?
Not at all. Sometimes the universe speaks to us very quietly through those little nudges and feelings. It's about paying attention to those whispers, the ones we might miss if we're not really listening.
So it's about being more aware, more sensitive to the subtle ways the universe communicates.
Exactly. And sometimes the signs aren't obvious right away. It might be a feeling of unease that's telling you to change direction, a sudden burst of inspiration leading you down a new path, or a chance meeting that opens up unexpected doors.
So it's about paying attention to our emotions, our thoughts, our experiences, and trusting that they're all trying to tell us something. That's a lot to process.
It is. The universe is always talking to us. We just have to listen.
Okay, this is all fascinating, but it can be a bit overwhelming, you know?
I understand.
Like, how do we know which signs to follow, which paths to take? What if we make the wrong choice?
That's a valid concern. And it's important to remember there's no one right way to work with the universe. It's a personal journey, a process of exploring and discovering.
So it's about trusting our gut, following our heart, and being willing to change course along the way.
Exactly. And remember, there are no mistakes, only lessons. Every experience, whether it's good or bad, is a chance to grow and learn.
I love that. It takes the pressure off knowing we don't have to have all the answers right now.
Right. It's about embracing the unknown, trusting the journey, and having fun along the way. Life's an adventure, not a test we have to pass perfectly.
This deep dive has been incredible. I feel more connected to myself, to the universe, to all the possibilities out there.
That's great to hear. Remember, you are powerful. You're creating your own reality. You can tap into the universe's wisdom, align with your purpose, and create a life filled with joy, abundance, and meaning. Trust the process, believe in yourself, and never stop exploring the magic of this journey we call life.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Okay, so we're back and ready to like really get into the spiritual side of understanding what the universe is trying to tell us. This is where it gets kind of mystical, right?
It can, yeah. When we
Hmm.
talk about the universe responding to us, it's not just about, getting stuff or like surface level wishes coming true. It's about receiving guidance, wisdom. It's about understanding ourselves and our place in like the grand scheme of things. It's about
Yeah.
connecting to something bigger than ourselves, tapping into a wisdom that goes beyond our limited human perspective.
Yeah, I think that's what I find so interesting about all this, that idea that we can tap into something beyond what we already know. But if the universe is always talking to us, giving us these insights and guidance, why do we miss it so often?
Well, think of it this way. The universe is like always broadcasting on a certain frequency. It's offering insights, nudges, course corrections, all that. But we miss those messages because, well, we're tuned into a different station. The station of our own thoughts, worries, to-do lists, distractions, all that noise.
So it's like we're trying to listen to a symphony while blasting heavy metal.
Exactly.
No wonder we can't hear those subtle cues. So how do we tune in to that cosmic frequency? How do we start picking up those messages more clearly?
One of the most important things is to get better at connecting with our intuition. That inner knowing, the gut feelings, the hunches, all of that.
We've mentioned intuition before, but how do you actually strengthen that connection? Is it like a muscle you can exercise?
You could say that. The more we listen to and trust our intuition, the stronger it gets, the more reliable it becomes. Start by paying attention to those little feelings, the nudges that might be guiding you toward a certain path or choice.
So instead of dismissing those gut feelings as, oh, it's just my imagination, I should actually pay attention to them. But what if I'm wrong? What if my intuition leads me down the wrong path?
It's true. Our intuition isn't always perfect, and we might misread those nudges sometimes. But the more we practice listening to that inner voice, the better we get at knowing the difference between true intuitive guidance and, just our own fears or wishful thinking.
So it's a learning process, like trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. And making time for quiet and reflection can help us refine that intuition. Things like meditation, journaling, spending time in nature, these can help quiet the mind and allow us to connect with that inner wisdom.
So it's about creating that space within ourselves, a place where we can connect with that deeper knowing.
Beautifully said. And as we connect more with our intuition, we might start to notice that the universe communicates in all sorts of ways, not just those big obvious signs we talked about before.
You mean being open to messages that come in unexpected ways?
Exactly. It could be through dreams, a sudden realization, a chance meeting with someone who says just the right thing, a song that really speaks to you. It could even be a tough experience that forces you to grow.
So it's like the universe is speaking all these different languages, and we need to learn how to understand them.
That's a great way to put it. The universe often uses metaphors, symbols, synchronicities. It's up to us to figure out what those messages mean. The more we pay attention, the better we get at understanding.
It's a constant learning process.
Definitely. And it's not just about passively receiving messages either. It's about actively being part of the conversation. Ask questions, ask for guidance, and be clear and strong about your intentions and what you want.
So it's like we're co-creating our reality with the universe, a give and take kind of thing.
I love that. And as we get more connected to the universe, we might start to feel a real sense of purpose, a sense of meaning in our lives. We might feel more aligned with, our soul's path, more connected to something bigger, more inspired to live a life that makes a difference.
It's beautiful and inspiring, but I gotta be honest, it can be a little intimidating too, you know?
I understand.
It's like, how do we know we're understanding these messages the right way? What if we misread the signs or make the wrong choices? What if we mess it all up?
That's a normal feeling, and there really is no one right way to understand what the universe is telling you. It's a personal journey, guided by your own intuition, your wisdom, your experiences.
So it's about trusting ourselves, following our heart, and being willing to adjust course along the way.
Exactly. And remember, there are no mistakes, only lessons. Everything we go through, good or bad, is a chance to learn and grow.
That takes the pressure off, knowing we don't need to have all the answers right now.
Exactly. It's about embracing the mystery, trusting the process, and, having fun with it. Life is an adventure, not a test we have to ace.
This whole deep dive has been amazing. I feel more connected to myself, to the universe, to all the possibilities out there.
That's fantastic. Remember, you are a powerful creator. You're shaping your own reality. You can connect with the wisdom of the universe, find your purpose, and create a life full of joy, abundance, meaning. Trust the process, believe in yourself, and never stop exploring the magic of this incredible journey we call life.
That's a great way to end this deep dive. Thanks for listening, everyone, and keep exploring.